My name is Lonnie Bloom. I'm an audit partner here at Withum, and I co-lead our e-commerce sector. Super excited to be here today with Brian Webb, who is the VP of Customer Experience at Blue Onion Labs. So Blue Onion Labs, which was built for e-commerce accounting teams, provides its customers software to streamline the order-to-cash reconciliation process, increase efficiency around month-end close, and modernize the revenue recognition process. So Brian, I'm super excited to be here and talk to you today because Blue Onion has created a software for accountants. So as an accountant, as an auditor myself, I often see my clients struggle with their month-end and year-end close process, as well as the day-to-day transaction level reconciliations. So for today's conversation, I'd like to take a deep dive into some of the challenges that e-commerce accounting teams face and the solutions Blue Onion offer that helps promote automation and drive efficiencies. So Brian, thank you for being here today. If you could start to give us the 2-minute commercial, on who you are and how you ended up at Blue Onion, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a CPA myself. I'm also an accountant. A lot of what we do is make sure that the solution is built for our customers and with the feedback of our customers in mind. So you're very right, Lonnie. We've built this for accountants, for finance and accounting teams, and make sure that their voice is always heard in the development of the application. But for me, like I said, I'm a CPA. I started my career in finance, so not in e-commerce at all, actually, but experiencing this exact same problem. We were doing a lot of high volume trading on the stock exchange, had millions of transactions that we needed to reconcile day over day over day. And so really helped to develop some processes there that help to do reconciliation at scale, right? Which is really what we are doing at Blue Onion, is we want to make sure that we can support small mom and pop shops, but also large public companies in their reconciliation and handle the same problem over and over and over and do that with a high level of accuracy.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that background. So Brian, my first sort of macro level question is around the accounting industry in general. We've seen a labor shortage with respect to accounting professionals over the last few years. Which creates a strain on growing companies who are trying to hire the right individuals for their finance and accounting teams. Have you seen your customers struggle to find the right hires for their accounting teams? And if so, how does that impact operations of the business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see it across the entire industry, as you mentioned, Lonnie. There's people leaving the industry in kind of large numbers, and fewer people entering the accounting industry through school and things like that. So definitely something that all of our customers are facing right now, hiring good quality accounting candidates. I think what we've seen for people, right, is that introduces risk, right? People are not able to take on a lot of the projects that they wanted to, implement controls that they wanted to, things like that. But also just things like reconciliation get put on the back burner, right? You still have to pay payroll, you still have to make budgets, you still have to do a lot of the things that make the business run. And so people turn their attention to other things because they just don't have the time to be doing everything.
Yeah, absolutely. We see the same with our clients. We work with early stage companies, startups through, late stage, and we see sort of the evolvement of the accounting team, over time, right? They, in the very beginning, no one's thinking accounting, finance. They kind of put it on the back burner, maybe outsource everything, and then they make that key hire right at the right time when they raise a round of funding, and they really need to get into a more sophisticated, level of financial reporting. So we see sort of that evolvement, which is interesting, and then that there's a right time and right place to introduce new softwares too, right? And start using AI and start using other sort of technologies to help streamline the accounting process, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about the technology around Blue Onion? What sort of AI, what sort of machine learning is being utilized to drive the software's capabilities?
Yeah. So right now we do a lot of algorithmic matching. A lot of our system is built on algorithms. We do have a bit of machine learning that we use in some like matrix factorization, which is kind of a fancy word that allows us to make rec work a lot faster, right? Allows us to kind of choose the matches that are going to happen in reconciliation in sort of a machine learning type of way. We also do quite a bit of anomaly detection with machine learning, of just kind of seeing like what are the things that look different than they did before, and help us sort of reconfigure our reconciliation a bit on the fly. So those are the places that we're able to do that. A lot of that, with a lot of the machine learning and AI, it's large language models, right? And so we've seen really good success on helping to map stitching keys or things like that, where it's more language based. We haven't really seen it come the way that it needs to come as far as like doing math problems, things like that, right? And so as far as doing any sort of the algebra that's needing to be done in any of our application, we're not really seeing a huge leverage there, but definitely in a lot of the matching and things like that, we can see
Right.
some use there.
Right. Great. Yeah, most of my clients are, e-commerce businesses using QuickBooks, NetSuite, have an omni-channel approach, selling through Shopify, Amazon, retail, wholesale,
Yep.
and usually using more than one credit card processor, right? So, pretty large tech stack that they're using. How does Blue Onion integrate, with an e-com's already existing tech stack, and what are some of those integration challenges if they have sort of multiple levels of complexity?
Yeah, I mean, that's really the use case that we saw in the market, Lonnie. Our CEO, Lindsay Bunting, came from Birchbox, one of the kind of like very early on e-commerce startups, right? And dealt with this herself. And so then as we've gone through the last several years after starting up, we've heard the feedback from our customers, and complexity is really where we shine. Like that's where we're going to come in and help people, right? If somebody's just selling on Amazon or just selling on Shopify and Shopify's processing all the payments, that's a kind of self-contained box. There's really not a lot of complexity that comes from that. But what we've done is tried to develop a lot of integrations across a lot of different platforms so that we can take that complexity away. Typically, an onboarding call with our customers takes half hour or less to get all those integrations done. And so making those connections is not really the difficult part. We recognize that finance and accounting teams typically don't get the best investment as far as software integrations, things like that. So we tried to take that burden on ourselves to lighten that need on the internal team. And so on the complexity, that's where we really shine, right? Is like we want people to have 7 different payment processors and like a couple of different platforms, work in a lot of different geographies, because we know that just increases the ability for us to help them.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point. When the more complex the internal tech stack becomes, the more channels that business is selling through, the more need, or the higher the need for a software, right, to help with that sort of manual reconciliation process. We see it so many times on the audit side. We go into audit a company and we say, okay, what are you doing to reconcile your revenue? And it's like, oh, we're living out of this spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
And only one person really knows how to use a spreadsheet, but they're on vacation for 2 weeks. So
right.
What happens then, right? So it becomes a need, right, at a certain point to introduce something like a Blue Onion, or with that order to cash proof, right?
For sure. And I think what we can kind of offer there, right, is we give you access to somebody else's accounting department in a way, right? It's like we've learned from them, hey, we integrated with Afterpay and we experienced this certain issue. We get to learn that once from that group, and then your company gets to benefit from that learning, And so there's a way of like you get to share within sort of this community amongst other e-commerce companies because you're a part of our community within Blue Onion.